Hello there. We're back for, well, we've covered the whole final table of this GG game. So now I've got 5 spots here, all ICM preflop spots that we're going to look at. Got the first one loaded here, and this is how I would approach like some preflop spots and how the computer would attack them given the ranges that we put in. And it's going to extrapolate a result for us based on the conditions we give it. I'm not saying my conditions are going to be 100% accurate, but it's definitely, if you don't do this type of thing, it's definitely going to help your game for sure. If you even just download the software to get to that stage, it's going to help you out. But I've been using this for a couple of years. It's called Holdem Resources Calculator, and it works with preflop spots. So we'll jump right in it and I'll show how this all works. So the spot I've got here is, we're all playing semi 30 big blind range, stack depth. But the spot I want to look at in particular is, so Michael Adamo jams here in the small blind, and as you can see Michael Adamo's got 6 million and covers the whole table. He's going to shove against Dr. Mike, and I think that is the play based on what I believe in terms of ICM. Chris Butts is 900k. There's a guy with the same as him, and Yuri on the button has less than him. So there's definitely a lot of ICM, given that he can make a few payouts still. So let's have a look at like what he should actually call off given the payouts. So I've put all the payouts in. Here we are here. So the payouts are all in. I'll just get that. Right, so we have, I'll put the spot over here. Yeah, something like, just put that to the side just now. So we have currently small blind, and the computer's given him any two here as jamming range, because like the big blind has to call off so tight under ICM here that like Adamo could just shove 4 days off. It's not going to be hugely profitable, but it's definitely something to consider. Usually you want to go for, like, if you're in Michael's shoes right now with all the chips, you want to be taking good spots, like, so you want to be taking ones that are like decent in terms of, how are we not getting this down? Yes, sorry. You want to be taking decent ones, but like as you can see here, everything is super profitable. Like Deuce's 3 Deuce offsuit is doing quite good still. Like it's doing similar to King 6 offsuit, Ace 8 offsuit, stuff like that. So like you really got to question, like, can I just jam here? Totally. As you can see, it's making $2,000 shoving 3 Deuce off. Now that's assuming that the big blind is going to call off at the range that the computer's given him. So as you can see, 400k, 300k. The next pay jump is for $66,000, and a 3 Deuce offsuit shove is saying that it would make $2,000. So maybe, you know, it's not that much, but like maybe you want to consider this. So now let's have a look at what our guy here in the big blind, Dr. Mike, can be calling. And the thing is here, so it says he's calling 9s plus here, not even Ace King suited, because even though he dominates a lot of Dr. Mike's shoving range, Dr. Mike is going to have like hands that have like are flipping with Ace King, like Jack 4 off, like 3 Deuce off even, and we need a made hand here. We need a made hand. We need to have him crushed a lot of the time. So like if he's jamming hands like Jack 4 off or like 5-3 off or something, we want something that's not going to have, we want something that's going to have 2 overcards and going to have him in bad shape. Like we want to have like 9s here, because like we want to have him shoving 8-5 and we've really got him dead if we're going to put the money in here to gamble, given that we're maybe due a couple of pay jumps. So as you need 9s plus, not even Ace King, but 9s is still close. 9s is making $2,000. $2,200, and that's making just under 10% aces. So like nines is the cutoff for where you want to call here, I would say. But you're not calling any hands that aren't made. So I think that's very important. And it just shows you under ICM like what you should really be calling here. And I think in game, people will be calling Ace King and Ace King Suited. Not these guys. I think Dr. Mike's a really good player. He's a very high stakes regular. He's been around for years. But let's adjust it and say that people call Ace King Suited. How many big blinds does he have? Dr. Mike has 25, 26 big blinds, and Adamo has 80, between 80 and 100. So like, it doesn't even damage Adamo's stack as well, so that's another consideration for just jamming your whole range. But let's assume that we're playing against a weaker player and he's shoving Ace King, he's calling Ace King Suited, he's calling Ace Queen Suited. Let's give him them and maybe give him mates. And let's run this. So So for you, those of you who are not using HRC on the regular, this green button, I'll run this Nash Equilibrium. Usually I like to go for like 16, so this is 16 million iterations. So the computer's going to run it 16 million times and try and calculate the best result. So click that, give that a second. And as you can see, the computer's telling us that even versus 100% range, Ace King off is losing. Based on some of the things of what we said. It goes a lot deeper than that, but there's the general trends for why it does call that. And I've noticed when the people do go a little bit wider in the calling range, in such a horrible spot for the big blind, the small blind doesn't change its range much at all. You can see now, 3 deuce off, he's making $1,600. Clearly, because yes, he's calling Ace King, Ace Queen, they're a lot better hands. So we're going to be making a lot less, but it's still making a very decent portion of equity that I think that you can just shove your whole range in Adamo's shoes here. And especially against a player like Dr. Mike, who will call off the range that the computer gave, because he's very up to date, I would say. Maybe I'm wrong, but so anyway, we'll move on to the next hand. So this spot, we have João Vera, if that's correctly spelled, NASA 114, very high stakes regular, he opens under the gun, Jack 10 suited. Dr. Mike has a real big decision here. Like, he can shove here and like take the pot down, or like get called by a worse hand or something like that. It's usually a shove, I would say here. Like, if you look at it on the eye, Ace Queen suited looks like a good hand to shove. However, you got to look at the ICM again here. Yuri and Chris Putz, who are in just next to the cutoff in the hijack. There's ICM with them still. And also NASA should be opening a very tight range under the gun here. A very tight range, especially with Michael Adamo on the button here. So, and also a couple of decent stacks that can 3-bet him. So he's got to have that in consideration. And for that reason, I think this is why Dr. Mike calls, because NASA's opening so tight. And he's also he has to call off super tight. So why not keep in the bottom hands that he's opening where Ace Queen suited, because we dominate everything apart from Ace King and Aces. But why not keep in his, so let's think about NASA's opening range under the gun. Jack 10 suited, I don't think he's opening Jack 9 suited. I'd say Jack 10 suited is the bottom. Pairs, maybe something like 7s, stuff like that. 7s, yeah, 7s plus. So like, and he's not calling 7s, 8s, he's probably not calling 9s to a jam. So NASA's actually calling like 10s plus. Maybe not even that, I'm not sure. And then like, he's never calling Ace Jack. So Ace Queen, offsuit, I'm pretty sure is a fold. Maybe even Ace King, I'm not entirely sure, we're going to have a look. But you're never getting called really by a worse hand unless it's 10s or Jacks. And I think this is why Dr. Mike likes to call here. So let's have a look. So, and 2. And we have Nas opening under the gun. And let's see, he's opening a 7% range here. He's not even opening in 7s. He used to play so tight with this ICM. King Queen suited is break even. Ace Queen off, not making that much. So you've got to be really tight here. I'd say people go a little bit tighter because NP and the guys in the higher stacks are going to be really aggro in terms of how the computer plays, I would say. And this is what gives it an extremely tight opening range here. And I feel that it will be a little bit wider. Like, I don't think he's folding king, queen suited or queen jack. I mean, he's opening jack 10. So, like, let's include these broadways, maybe king, queen, sevens. But anyway, with the computer saying as it was, how is Dr. Mike supposed to respond to that? And I've given him a jamming range, and I've also given him a flattened range. So his call range, something like that. That's assuming that he's going to realise post. I believe that is the case. I'm not entirely sure about HRC, but yeah. So he's jamming range here. He's going to mix some hands. Really likes his suited. Oh no, this is the button. Sorry, my mistake. So it really likes to. So the flattened range is going to like confuse this, but let's just look at the jamming range, and you can see the ones that are profitable. Ace, king, kings, not even queens. I don't know why that would be, to be honest, but it's liking some of the A6 suited. We fold out some better A6, things like that are in mind. But let's say that let's adjust it now and say that under the gun's raising the range that we think he is, and then we'll see what Dr. Mike's how he's supposed to respond. So let's say that he's opening that, all them, 8's full, and then 7's as well. And like some ace 8, ace 9. Let's run that and see how the small blind's supposed to respond. Same thing again. Using that. So we're going to look at how the small blind is supposed to respond. And then we will look at a situation that arises where small blind jams his range and how tight NASA will have to call off. We can also compare the EVs of this ace queen suited flat and this ace queen suited jam, given the range we think these opening. And I think that's I think this was what people will be opening in game. I watch these games a lot, and I feel this is a good selected range for that. So he raises that, and our small blind range goes up a lot for jamming. Obviously, these hands compared to flatten are like so indifferent. It's so similar. So like, you're not going to take spots like ace 4 off here. That would just be silly. Even though it's spitting out answers that are like a little bit over the place in terms of like what's doing well on that, because like you can see some hands profitable for what you're supposed to call off, but you're not going to take these spots. You don't want to take a close spot here in this spot. Like, you want to be taking a really tight spot in Dr. Mike's situation. So you want to go in lowest variance as possible. As you can see though, it much prefers to flat these hands, and it's choosing to go for like, so the ones that are highlighted in black, they are the hands that are just going to want to flat. Whereas, but that's not, it's also not including like post-flop realisation as much, like 9-5 suited and shit, so like you wouldn't do these type of hands, you wouldn't flat these type of hands. But as you can see, like ace queen suited doesn't mind the flat, doesn't mind the jam. It much prefers the flat though. See, it's 0.3 here, it's making 4k, whereas a 3-bet from the small blind, it's making 0.07, and like just because of what we said, like in terms of what he's calling off and then what he's shoving, what he's folding, we want to keep in these hands. Since his call off range is so tight, we want to keep in these hands. So given this, let's see how NASA's supposed to react to a 3-bet all in. And he's calling insanely tight. It's absolutely unbelievably tight. I believe, so versus this range that's given, ace king suited, ace king, aces, and all the a6 suited, the lower ones, because we fold it better and we've got some playability. If he calls kings, queens, we have some 30% equity spots. So that's good. Versus that range, we cannot call off kings, it's telling us. But that's versus the range that we'd say small blind does 3-bet jam. I'm not entirely sure how people would jam. I don't think people are jamming the lower a6 suited because it's far too risky and it's far too marginal to do that. So I think you're really going to see rarely a bluff. It's going to be a couple ace5 suited, stuff like that, and then mostly just value. I don't know how frequently they are choosing these ace5 suited and like small pocket pairs and stuff, but it's hard to put a tell on that. But as you can see, like, it really wants to call off tight here. If you give him that range that he's shoving, I think you might see something similar to that. We're going to see ace king suited shoving, ace king will shove, aces will shove mostly, kings will shove, queens will shove. So the only reason that it's not got these kings, queens, jacks highlighted and stuff, all these type of hands, is because I've allowed a flattened range. If I could have just chosen a 3-bit range, it would have seemed a lot different, and they would have been highlighting it more specific here. But we don't have that, and yeah, that's really close to what it should be. And as you can see, we are calling off that type of range, so we need to be extremely tight. Kings is actually a fold here, which I don't believe people will, and I don't think you should, because I think we should adjust the range that small blind shoving a little bit. But we're only going over basics, we're not going really heavy into it, so the type of things. And we're also not entirely sure of that small blind shove range, so we're going to move on now to hand 3. We have, so this one is a big interesting one. Michael Dam opens, he opens from a massive stack, and this guy in the small blind decides to shove ace 4 suited, and personally I don't like it. I think Adamo is going to be raising an insanely wide range here because he's an aggro player and he has a lot of chips. However, I just don't think this is going to make enough money, and because you have Dr. Mike who's behind you, half the table's behind you, Yuri, Chris, Isaac's level with you, so you want to be careful here. Let's have a look at it though. So cut off is raising like 40% in this spot, and I think that Adamo will open a lot wider than 40% here. I think he will open, never fold 9-8 suited, he's never folding these type of hands. So let's just amend that right now. Let's amend that range, and I think he's going to be opening something like, he's got a lot of chips. He does have to call off, like, there are some short stacks, they're not going to be shoving wide though, so like I reckon like any king, something ridiculously like this. Something like this. And like I'll just take the bottom ones out a little bit, you know. Like he's folding them. Maybe I'm wrong though. But like I would give him something like that. Let's run that for what he's opening. And then versus that, let's see how small blind is supposed to play. And remember, like usually we want to go 5% of whatever aces is making, but not here. We don't want to take 5% here. So we're looking for like 10%. We want this to be an insanely profitable spot for us to go, because when we lose, and he does lose this pot, not saying that, not trying to be results orientated, but it's just an example, like a big mistake in my opinion. But he's got his reasons. He's a much better player than me. Maybe he thinks it's a mistake, maybe not. I had my brother on the stream the other night and he agreed with that. But so look. So small blind should be 3-betting a range of that. Okay. Right. So these are profitable. These are the ones that I take though. And as you can see, I'm not sure if HRC does this. I believe it does. It's just something that might click right there. Is maybe like there's a lot of profitable ones here. They're not highlighted in black though. Oh, it's because he's calling the small blind with a lot, and it's going to choose that. Right. Okay. So a lot of them are profitable. The shoves. Michael's supposed to be calling 8 plus. And let's say that he does shove. You know what? We're actually going to move on. Because I think since I've given a flattened range, I don't think I should have done that. You shouldn't have a flattened range really here. I'm because I've given him a flattened range, I think it's going to be really hard to work out a good idea. As you can see though, it's making money. It's not making that much though. It's making 2.8k for your whole tournament life, where it's a close one, and I do believe that it'll work a lot, but I personally feel that he should fold here. So we're going to move on just now. Yeah, that one should have been dinged a little bit better. Right, here's one. So Chris Prutz is in last place. Dr. Mike has short amount chips, 15 bigs, just under 15 bigs. But Chris is in the last position here, and consideration with Jack 10 is like usually this is a shove for this amount of chips in this spot. However, Adamo is going to be calling off super wide due to the fact that he can put a person out, and he has no player left behind him, and he has 100 plus bigs. So this is nothing for him, and I believe they'll be calling off really wide because of that. Let's have a look. Button is shoving a range like that. Jack 10's not making that much. And let's look at the range that Big Blind's calling. As you can see, Adamo can profitably call any A6 suited here. It's quite bad for Jack 10. And closing in on like any A6 offsuit almost. Any pair, of course. He really wants to be ahead though, because Button is shoving basically every Broadway and every suited Broadway, all A6 suited, all A6 offsuit, and then all pairs. Quite easy one to remember. And versus that range, usually when you see that type of range, you want to have high card hands, and like high card hands basically, and hands with equity. Broadways and high card hands. So like A6, and then like Jack 10 suited, like the 9x suited are extremely thin. So for Michael Adamo here, he can, like, it's not like that's what is going to damage him that much, so he can go quite wide. Like, he can take some of these lower ones. Like, you should definitely take any A6 suited for sure. He's making 2.7k, and I think he should take it, because like folding's going to be 0, and if you lose it doesn't mean anything, you know what I mean. He goes down to 720k, nothing changes at the table. So I think you should take any A6 suited, any King 10, Jack 10, some frequency I would say. Maybe miss some of the Jack 10, Queen 10 offsuits. And then like definitely take like, my mistake. Take these. So it's making $500. I apologise. $500, $700. 80s is making 9k. And that's making 700. So it's like just under 10%. But you want to start edging in about ace-3 suited plus. So you want to take like 0.07, so like 0.35 looks good. Yeah, you want to be taking like King 10 suited plus, light green ones, maybe like King Jack and Queen. But as you can see, yeah, A7, stuff like that. So he's shoving it really tight here, and I believe that Adamo will call very similar to this range. He will always call pair. He does like to flip as well, so like he would always call these hands. So I think that's a good range to give him. Like I really wouldn't change much of that, to be honest. You can maybe edit like King 10 off, take it out ace-3, something like that. And give him a frequency of the lower ones. Touch of King 9 in there just to like skew a little bit. That's never going to change much, to be honest. There's no point in running that. But as you can see, Jack 10 is right on the cusp. It is making $45, and he doesn't. And I think it's like it's a spot that's just going to be so break even. As you can see, like it's obviously not going to be exactly that, but it's going to be along the lines of this. And Chris does make the fold, and I really like it because of that. I think it's one that might not get seen too often, but I like his I like the thought process behind that. Let's move on to the next one. This one is this the last one? I think it is. This is the last one. So this, you see me covered in the first video. Isaac Axton opens King Jack suited from just over 30 bigs. A dam was on the button, king 10 suited. And yeah, I believe that a dam goes for the shove. And at the time I was like, right, what's the move? And I finally landed on shove myself, because again, it's a spot where Isaac should be really tight. There's a guy with 500k right now, there's a guy with 800k, Yuri's got 1.3, he's tied almost with NASA. So he needs to be super tight in his opening range, and especially with a dam on the button anyway, he should be going very, very aggro. So let's have a look at how Michael Shub performs, and let's see what Isaac's supposed to be calling off. Obviously, King Jack suited is never going to fit into that, but let's see how it does. So let's have a look at the range that Isaac's opening first. As you can see, similar to what we said last time, I don't think it's going to be like this in game. It's going to be a pip lower, because I think people are going to be playing less aggro. Less aggro than they should be. And we can add a few of them in. So we'll do that because it will change the result. So as we can see, Isaac's opening King Jack suited here, and it's got him doing this. So we're going to add in a few. I think we should definitely add. Jack 10 suited is like got frequency that, because the short stacks are really, really short now. Like Isaac basically guaranteed a pay jump. So let's say I'm going to give him a range like quite tight. I might not even give him that, honestly. Like, this is maybe like too wide. Maybe wrong. I don't think you'll find it in him to fold sevens, but maybe I'm wrong. Let's give him something like that. And let's run that and see. We'll now work out what Adamo's move is, his best move, and following that we will amend the range that Adamo is 3-bit jamming in game, and then see how Isaac should be responding to that. I hope you like the background, by the way. Done it just for the channel because my room's not that nice and I like being at the beach. So we have, what's his name on the button? Button. So should we call in this range? They're all medium in terms of their equity. I don't know why everyone's playing. He's now playing a lot wider. And still, he takes these as really profit. It's really interesting. Something feels a bit dodgy here, to be honest. I feel like Dan was playing a much wider range than that. So it's saying now that Barnes should 3-bet these hands. Oh dear, I just realised my mistake, and that was to not add in a jam size. It's only giving him a 3-bet call. Right, okay, let's quickly add that. Apologies. So all we do now, I'll show you how to use HRC just now. I'm going to do a video on it, but like, this is how I would use it. If you have got this far at the video, this is probably the most helpful for yourselves if you've not used this. So advanced Monte Carlo hand is a lot more accurate. It's what the one you want to go use. So as you can see right now, I have, I'll make that full screen. No, I'll try to make that as big as I can. So we've got the stacks here. I've put them all in as they are. We have under the gun, top Mr. Lacquer stack. I just put them in chips because to get it really accurate in ICM, you need to put in the total chips in the end. So I need to put in everyone's stack as it is. So everyone's chips in them. We've got the payouts for 8 left. I believe there's 7 right now, but yeah, payouts, put them in. Put in the small blind, big blind, antes, they're all there. Total chips, to work out the total chips, we do the starting stack times the number of entries. So that'd be 10,000 100,000 starting chips, as you'll see there, times the amount of entries, which I believe was 65 in this tournament. We then go next. Click this button here, the green one. Chips, remaining players, we put that in, that's what it is. You can't do less than 9 though. chip average, it works out for itself, and I like to randomise it. It just makes the graph, you'll see what happens just now, makes the graph more, how would you say, more gradual instead of having like that. So I like to randomise it. This one's not a great example for how random it is, but like it creates it more, I can't remember the name for a graph like that. It's been a while since school. But we now need to work out, oh, it does have the all-in size, and maybe I've not figured out what it was. Let's finish that anyway. I didn't see the all-in there. So, we now have the spot where then we opens and it's going super tight, and I don't believe we're going to have to amend that again. And we can just, what we can do now is a little trick here. We amended Isaac's range for what it was, and we amended Thomas Mielicker's there, sorry. So we're going to copy that range, and we're going to put it in MP, it'll be MTP. No, that was fine. It was MP1. Yeah. Just going to paste that in. Yeah. Tells us that King 10 suited and that are actually bad raises, which is really interesting. I believe so. I don't believe King, Queen, King, Jack are how people are playing, but Jack 10, Queen 10, questionable. I think people might be a bit loose in this spot. So raise, and Adamo has the option to call. Likes to call these hands, Jack 10 suited, Queen 10 suited. 3-bet these hands, strange. And then his jam range is quite wide, you know? So it's like in King 10 suited here. As you can see, like out of the three of them, King 10 suited likes to jam the most often. None of these spots are making a ton of money, I wouldn't say. But the jam is really, we fold out King Jack in Isaac's range. King Jack suited, we fold out King Queen suited. Isaac has to call off super wide, like we seen in that last one. Isaac can't call off ace king here, can't call off ace king suited here. He's going to have to call off a similar range like 9s plus, and I think in this spot it's even more than that. I reckon it'll be like queens plus. Let's have a look. I'm going to take a guess at jacks plus, jacks, queens, kings, aces. In fact, I'm going to go queens, kings, aces. Queens, kings, aces. I just think it's super tight. So, say it's 3-bet in a range like that. We're going to, let's have a look at that first with computer. So even with like 8-5 suited and stuff like that. I believe this might happen sometimes. It's a damo, and like I think it's a reasonable move. It's making similar money to ace-9 suited, and the hands that he calls, like 7-6 suited, their hands are going to do okay against it. They're not making tons, but they're going to do okay. And you do need to watch how you're doing it, because, like, I mean, Isaac Action's not even raising 10% here. We've given him 10%, but that's much on the looser side. So I believe that these hands are good in theory, but watch the player you're playing against and how wide he is in this spot. 3-bet. And we can call Kings plus. I was wrong. Kings plus is making money here. And you should call kings, you should call aces, and queens is making a bad one, because like if Adamo turns up with ace-4 offsuit or something like that and he has an overcard to us, that is not great news. It's going to go get a double, but if we lose that, that is detrimental to our tournament worth, and you need to be aware of that. So now let's amend the range, and maybe it is like that. I doubt it's that wide, to be honest. So now I amend Michael's range, and I think a lot of it's in the 3-bet range. Like, you're not going to jam aces, so let's take out some hands, put them into the jam range, and then put a 3-bet range in as well. So let's take out this, because this is just insane in my head. And let's like give him some frequency, these lower ones. Let's put him on the less aggressive side. And when I say less aggressive, I don't mean like tight. He's still going to be jamming like 6-7 suited 50% of the time. But like, let's just like add in these lower. I think these are going to go in like fucking every time because they just fold out better broadways. They're good hands to do it with. So let's take out a few of these. These are a little bit wild, to be honest. And I think these are as well. Just putting something like that. Take out the top range. Depends. I think he's going to 3-bet ace king suited. He might 3-bet ace queen suited. And I think these guys, like all these ace suited, I think they're just going to get jammed. Yeah, I think 100% frequency. And I do believe these are going to be higher, to be honest. 10-9 suited, he's not, like, he's just shoving that. 9-8 probably as well. Probably 8-7. Any pair, like them, are all shoving. And I think he'll 3-bet like jacks. Mid sham. Putting like 50-50. Any pair for sure. C6-5, bit loose. Something like this. So a little bit aggro, maybe a little bit tight, and I think he 3-bets the rest. I think when he 3-bets here, it's very often going to be value. If he does have a 3-bet, it's going to be like these lower king 4 suited or like an ace 5 off. So I take these out. I don't think they're going to take jams a lot, but I think they're going to get 3-bet a ton. So let's amend that, and then let's also change that 3-bet range that we're talking about, the 6.5 big blinds. Let's change it to top. And I think he's shoving all these. And let's give him, let's make the 3-bets, like, because he's going to shove all these hands, all these middling hands sometimes. Let's give him like really, really bad hands to 3-bet with, so some frequency of these, you know, a king 4 off now and again. And I think a lot of these, something like that. Let's give him a 3-bet range of like 5%. I think that looks good. And maybe like chucking. I like it. See, if you really want to get like not a very skewed result and it's just to these hands, because it's just ace and king X hands, you can also add in like a 10-5 suited turn. I'm not saying he does that. It's just to like merge it around and get like a really balanced overview of the spot. Let's run that. So if you like what I've done, this is going to be the last hand. If you like this type of thing, I'm going to do a HRC video, how to use it. You'll definitely find better HRC's videos. Well, actually you won't. That's not true. I would disagree with that. I don't think there's a lot of content on YouTube now for HRC, so I'm going to show you how I use it. And I've still got some to learn with HRC for sure, but I think I've got it pretty nailed down. I've spent a lot of time with it, so you can use what I'm showing you to get you started for sure. It's going to be enough. So if he 3-bets that and he jams this range and he calls a very, very tight range, how does the thing respond? And as it's ran, it is the exact same. You can see that aces went slightly down in value, and kings went slightly down in value, and by an absolute, kings hasn't even went down, it's just the value aces went down. I don't know why that would be, to be honest. It was something to do with the interacting ranges, but the thing is, these type of things don't need to concentrate on that. You just need to know what the ranges are and know what type of hands we should be calling off. And like this is like the main takeaway here is like you can't call queens in this spot profitably due to like how we can't take like 70-30s. We can't risk that with our chip stack. So that's going to do it for today. And if you liked what's being put out there, I think this is like one of my first videos, so there are some things to work on, like editing and stuff like that. But I'm not really asked about that just now. It's just mostly to get content out there and to get people using HRC, to get people spending time on their game. So there it is for you, and I think we'll call it there. I think that's all the hands. I've got a few more, but I thought this was going to be enough, and like, this is well into the video. I'd be very happy to hear that you've got this far. I really would. So thank you, and I'll be back tomorrow with another video. I might make it on how to use HRC, we'll see. But yeah, thank you for tuning in.